Hello listeners, and welcome to the Montel Weekly Podcast, bringing you energy matters in an informal setting. In this week's pod, we'll discuss in detail last week's bidding error in the Nordic spot market, quite possibly the costliest in European power market history, not just financially, but also for the Nordic electricity system and the reputational damage incurred. A clear and obvious error, for half of Finland's peak power demand slipped through the net and sent power prices plunging to minus 500 euros a megawatt hour instead of euro 60 per megawatt hour as forecast. What happened? Who was responsible? And what will the consequences be? Helping me, Richard Sverrisson, to discuss this unprecedented incident is Maarit Uusitalo of Fingrid, Riku Merikoski of Axpo, and our own Gert of Mollestad. A warm welcome to you all.
Thank you.
But before we start, I'd like to make it clear that I invited Nord Pool to participate in the podcast, but they declined. And the company responsible for the bidding error, Bergen-based Connect Energy, has been asked for comments several times, but has always refused to give any. But let me start with you, Gert. What actually happened on the Thursday, the 23rd of November?
Well, we were looking for the spot price for Friday and checking that. And then we saw some very peculiar numbers for Finland. They outturned at minus 203, and we really couldn't believe our eyes. And then we saw that 10 consecutive hours were at minus 500, which is at the technical price floor, and it was hard to believe that this could be right. We tried then to check with Nord Pool that the price was correct, and we got confirmation that the price was firm, as I said, even though everybody, I think, very quickly acknowledged that this was something very wrong going on here.
And since then, you've discussed with the Nord Pool CEO, Tom Darrell. What's his version of events?
Well, he said that they got a wrong bid from Connect Energy. Connect Energy sold on average almost 5.8 gigawatt of power in Finland for Friday, which it didn't have, and which caused the prices to plunge. And the wrong bid is solely Connect's responsibility. However, the bid was flagged in Nord Pool system, and it was as an outlier, and it was marked with a red alarm. But Nord Pool they didn't discover it soon enough to avoid it going through the auction and causing then the price to crash.
So there seems to be some system deficiencies at Nord Pool as well, not being able to spot it. Although, of course, the error was Connect's, but there's something that wasn't flagged up in the Nord Pool system.
Well, I think it was flagged, but Nord Pool they didn't take it further. The system identified the bid as something very fishy, but Nord Pool they didn't have time, or they didn't act on it at least. And it's very common when bids deviates considerably from the day before that Nord Pool checks with the customer if everything is all right. But that was not done in this case. And we also asked Nord Pool exactly when the bid from Connect was submitted, but Nord Pool has declined to answer and says that Connect has to answer that question. And we tried several times to get some answers from Connect, but they've declined commenting the whole story so far. Unfortunately, I must say.
Yeah, absolutely. Maarit, if I could turn to you, what was the Fingrid reaction here to the auction and the outturn of the prices there?
I think the initial reaction was just like you said, sort of an astonishment. Can this be correct? Because it was not at all aligned with the system fundamentals that we were expecting. So we in our control center as well sort of started looking where is the error, and of course it was clear very fast that it's an error, and of course Connect came out with this market message quite soon, and then we of course talked with Nord Pool. We asked them to make a rerun because we thought this is not going to work for the Finnish system. As mentioned, the error was in average about half the Finnish consumption. So it was clear that it had sort of replaced correct production or generation from the market, and in addition there was a curtailed energy about those bids that were actually real bids in the market. So that was our initial reaction. And then we started contacting the market participants. We sent a message to our market participants that please be aware of the situation. Please be active in future intraday and balancing markets to be able to correct this. And then we also asked Nord Pool to come out with this information about the active. And so they sort of kindly also put out the message that please be active on intraday markets to correct. And finally, we also were in contact with this Kinect Energy and made clear to them that it's their task to sort of start acting in the intraday to correct the error as soon as it was clear that it's not going to be cleared with the rerun by Nord Pool or by the market coupling processes.
I think we'll come back to touch upon the consequences and what happened the day after in Finland as well. But Riku, what was the reaction from the market participants such as yourself? I mean, I know you've posted some things on LinkedIn and you weren't very pleased about what happens. But do you think the exchange should have undertaken a second auction?
Well, I wasn't expecting anything strange in that day. So let's say I was completely doing normal work when one client asked that what's wrong with Finland, and then I was almost about to answer that nothing, but shouldn't be anything tomorrow, which was in line with the expectations. However, then I looked at the prices and also like updated maybe 10 times before I believed my eyes. That in a way, well, this has done well. I had the first right idea at the first side, so in a way there must be wrong volumes on the sell side. That's the first thing I checked, and this was very correct. Yes. However, what happened thereafter, of course, let's say, I immediately started thinking of this, that in a way, how is it possible that this can have gone through the power exchanges system? Because in a way, the power exchange is a big part of the critical system infrastructure. And if it fails to provide prices which are reasonable, that's a major system problem. And I'm really disappointed that it was possible that this happened, because also this quite clearly points out that if someone wanted to harm the Nordic power system, it would have been really, really easy if even this clear wrong bid was not stopped, because it could easily have gone to the other direction as well, and then the people in Finland would have been on the streets the next day. It was I would say it was pure luck that we had a sell side error and not a buy side error. Nothing has been proven that there would have been a different reaction if it had been on the other side, and that's what I'm really worried, that it doesn't seem we are ready for if someone would try to harm us on purpose.
So I mean that has quite serious security implications, what you're saying there, Riku. And then are you concerned? I mean, from what we're hearing, that it was flagged up, the error, but nothing was done about it. Is that a worry here?
For all market players, it doesn't play any role if it was flagged. The most important thing was that it was not acted upon. I don't think anyone cares. Or, well, of course, it's better that it was noted, but it's maybe even more concerning that then no action was taken. I'm also a bit worried about the decision process here, because I would say that the harm caused by this is massively larger than any amount of delay in publishing the prices would have ever been. Even, let's say, 5-hour delay of prices publishing would have been totally a hiccup compared to this total disaster what we have now at hand.
Should the minimum would have been a second auction and dealing with that, or?
Yeah, I know the argument that they didn't have the grounds to do so, but in a way, somehow even the major stock exchanges can roll out false trades out of their system. There has been multiple events in stock exchanges where you can have millions of trades in seconds, and that they are possible to, let's say, delete the wrong trades. So somehow I don't buy the argument that it was not possible at all. I have a hard time to believe that the other market operators in Europe would have declined to cooperate in a situation which actually it harms all power exchanges in Europe that this happens. I think this is a clear problem from them all, not only Nord Pool.
I mean, we heard as well that Fingrid was in dialogue with Nord Pool there, Maarit. Was your understanding that they grasped the gravity of the situation?
I can't say that whether they did or not. What we asked them to do was, but of course that was already after the prices were out. And I totally agree with Riku that this should have been acted upon before the prices were out, and the erroneous bid should have been cleared from the market coupling process. And I also agree that if that would have been done, in addition to that, we do not have real processes right now. We don't have the second auction in the Nordics, and we don't have a process for this in the market coupling process. But that said, I agree that it would have been minor discussions today or this situation that we would be now discussing, okay, why did we break our own rules about not making a clear cut? Or now we are talking about this in public. We are talking about the public opinion of power exchanges, which are already in bad reputation after last winter, at least here in Finland. I assume not very many are happy about the price fluctuations due to the wind power, but at least here in Finland, it has again started discussions about is this really a way to go with the electricity market. So it is, in my opinion, it is really detrimental effect that it has had on the whole electricity market. And this might have not been recognized by the power exchanges. This happening in Finland, which is a bit on the borders of the European system. But anyway, I totally agree that it should have been cleared before the prices were out.
How was the situation covered by the Finnish media? Were they quite critical of the exchange, how the process happened, and of the consequences in Finland on the Friday?
Some part of the media discussion was about expected reaction of the consumption, because now they were having the Black Friday on power exchange prices, minus 500 euros, and they have been hit with the high prices last winter. So one part of the media reaction was sort of anticipating that. Another part of the media coverage was about, has this been done deliberately? Has this been done with the target of harming the system? And that sort of field was also covered in the media. And then, of course, started this that how can this happen, and all these power exchanges, how do they actually work? And sort of after we sort of cleared that deliberate act of harming in media, then we started discussing about the power exchange activities.
How close was Finland to a blackout, the lights going out?
Well, we were not worried about for example, about power adequacy, because we knew, as Riku was mentioning, we didn't expect any special day for that Friday, because we saw that there was wind power in the system. There were no major generator trips announced. So we knew the system was adequate. We know the generations are still there. They haven't gone anywhere. Only that the market results has not sort of started them up. So we were not really worried about the power adequacy as such. But what worried us was about how will that be handled, and then about the visibility of the sort of system state. We use the spot results as sort of the initial system balancing for the next day. And that is really important for the system. So having a visibility for the next day, which comes as a result of this calculation or market coupling system, which generators are up and running, who gets the power, and such, and what sort of defines the system, transmission system state. And as we did not have that, that sort of worried us the more.
But you saw a big increase in power consumption as well on the day. We saw some figures, 17%.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the percentages, but on megawatts, when that hour change came, when the 500 minus euros came up, we saw system consumption change. I think initially on the hour change it was like 1,000 megawatts, and sort of the peak power in Finland is 13,000, so it's quite remarkable change. and looking at what was the consumption on those hours in the previous day, I think it was like between 1,000 and 1,400 megawatts more on those hours. So people were really having a field day on this Black Friday.
Yeah, exactly. On the Black Friday and firing up their saunas. Yeah.
Yeah, I could actually continue on that a bit. That in a way, I would say that this went pretty much as I expected as well. That in a way, I was expecting quite a strong consumption increase, and especially I was worried about the distribution grid side. And what happened? We know from several reports that there was some distribution grid level problems because people used so much power in at weak line ends that some fuses were blown and that kind of stuff. But in a way, of course, that's in the big picture it was a minor problem. However, I think it also proves that everyone has been saying for quite some time that you must react to power prices. And then suddenly you say that you shouldn't react to power prices. That's a very, very unfortunate thing to say. What do we say them next time? So do they have to call first Fingrid to ask that, are these prices real or not?
That's a very fair point, Riku. I think a very good one. But if I can ask you, Gert, how we've seen the reaction from Finland, but how was it perceived in Norway and elsewhere in the Nordics, like in Sweden, for example?
The reactions has been really strong, and people are characterizing this as something the worst that's ever happened in at least the Nordic power market. We never seen a fat finger of this magnitude before, and people have also compared it to the Einar År's default at Nasdaq, but then they say that was a purely financial incident, but this was physical and way more serious. So this is a really serious event, and people are also very, I would say, disappointed by the lack of transparency from both Nord Pool and Connect. They want more facts on the table, and both the Finnish regulator and the Norwegian regulator are going to probe the case with Finland towards Connect and the Norwegian regulator towards Nord Pool, but I also would say that it's important for the credibility of the system going forward that we actually get to know what happened and when it happened. And I don't think they should hide at all in this matter.
I mean, do you think, like, for example, Maarit, there have been some questions raised about the structure of the market, how it's organized. Do you think that could rear its head as well? That people say, why did the TSOs, why did they sell themselves out of the market? Is the structure as we have at the moment with exchanges competing with each other, is that the correct way to go forward? Do you think these questions will come up?
Definitely, and there's already a debate about that going on, and there's been a suggestion to instead of having several exchanges calculating the price, that you have one entity in Europe, and this might be kind of a step towards that. I don't know how that's going to pan out, but at least there's been so much criticism and I don't know, discredibility for the whole energy market the last year, and then you have this story on top of everything, which is just really harmful.
Exactly, because like you pointed out, the Einar Års, there was one guy who lost, hundreds of millions of krona.
But that didn't affect public money and that was private companies exchanging money, and he lost a lot, of course. But this has serious consequences for the whole society, and it's a completely different matter.
Absolutely, this is the physical market. This is the power system and the credibility and the security of where we get our energy from. That's put to question here. So, Maarit, what can you see as being the consequences, or what would you like to see as the consequences of this mistake? A deep-seated inquiry and a promise that what should be put in place to ensure this doesn't happen again?
I would like to see, as was also mentioned, sort of an open discussion on how can we together prevent this again. So all the power exchanges, it's not only Nord Pool, but all the power exchanges need to check that how are they dealing with erroneous speed, how are they figuring out that there is actually an erroneous speed, and we need to look into the process. I understand that the existing setup needs some rigid processes because there are so many actors. We have, 40 TSOs, 15 power exchanges, and so forth. So I understand that there needs to be rigid processes, but we really need to look into those and the timelines about the market coupling process, that we need to introduce a place where erroneous bids as clear as this one need to be cleared before the prices are out. So that's my wish, that we can find that kind of a process development.
And Riku, do you have any idea of the costs of the mistake? I mean, who did it hit the hardest here?
Well, of course, what we know for certain is that Kinect gave out this extremely brief statement that they lost between $50 and $55 million. That's what they say, and absolutely nothing else. So I think we can agree on that point. Then I have heard some calculations that Swedish producers lost a couple of tens of millions, and definitely Finnish producers lost some tens of millions in the crude sense of it as well. Then we have actually also those Finnish sales companies whose, let's say, sales forecasts failed quite a lot because of this extreme increase, and totally which no one was prepared for. So I think they lost also considerable sum of money. So I would very easily believe that the cost of this is well above 100 millions in total. I could also even add that because in a way now the error was so big that in a way now whole monthly settlement and quarterly settlements of the financial market are quite a lot wrong for Finland. So anyone who had Finnish e-pads or even system prices, they were settled against totally false things. So in the financial market, in a way, incorrect money flow is also really big. And I could even add that even the Finnish state has to pay more subsidized seeds for the subsidized windmills, because even on the quarterly level, this has a major effect on the Finnish quarterly average based on which the subsidies are counted on. So in a way, and I think it's very desperate to believe that you would ever get that money back from anyone. That doesn't seem to like it will be a very hard process to hope anything for like that. I think some statements from Nord Pool side that anyone harmed by this should maybe then try to sue Kinect Energy. I don't think that was a very serious statement. The likelihood of getting money that way, it might be a quite hard and expensive process to try. Of course, someone better knows the legal stuff better than me, but in a way, I wouldn't believe that it's an easy way to get anything reimbursed that way.
No, absolutely. But bidding errors happen all the time, Gert, don't they? I mean, we report on several companies. They do one a week almost, but not to this magnitude.
No. This is completely overshadows everything else we see on a normal week at least. So usually you have a couple of maybe 100 or a couple of hundreds megawatt hours for some hours during a day in some price area or some country, but this was just like unprecedented. So
absolutely. And Maarit, I mean, to round off here, I think with you and Riku here about the public perception of energy. I mean, energy companies over the years have got a bashing. Now the exchanges, the high volatility over and the energy crisis. It's an area where there's a lot of focus. What does this do to the way, the Finnish population will look at, companies such as yourselves or the exchange or other suppliers and power generators?
Well, in my opinion, this hasn't helped any of the already bad reputation due to the high and volatile prices. And what Riku said previously about the message has been now I think a year and a half that yes, you should react to the prices, and then about sort of the public opinion now is that how can we believe in these prices that come out of this lottery? So that has really been a bad reputational effect on the whole field actually for the energy side.
And have the ripples even been felt as far away as Switzerland, Riku? That's I know where you sit. That's where the headquarters of your company is.
Yes, I would say that this not in the. I wouldn't say that in the media this has been that much. It's in a way it's clearly in a Nordic context where this has. But I think anyone in the industry feels the same worry, because in a way now it's also about whether it's actually really so how Nord Pool stated it, that in a way due to this European integration process we cannot act on this kind of cases, because then it would actually extend the problem anywhere else as well. That if then someone does this next week on some other place, then we could face the same error. I don't know, but it seems like it's possible. But in a way, to just estimate the size of the public damage, one should look at the commentaries on those newspaper articles on this. Those are full of, let's say, energy industry bashing. I think this is a very high price to pay for this. In a way, whole reliability of the whole system has been widely questioned, and even not only by angry people, but even like the largest newspapers are writing that, is this system worth to be trusted? I think that you rarely see that kind of articles in like mainstream media that in a way does the market work anymore.
Absolutely, it's a very serious matter, and I think we will watch very closely what happens at the regulatory level. Of course, you'll be able to read all about it on Montel News, but I think we'll see what the regulators come up with to avoid this kind of very grave bidding error mistake.
I could actually add one more point. I think one idea which is really some people point out is the question of somehow position limits. That in a way, should you really be allowed to bid much more than you can, actually you physically have? That should there be asset-based bidding limits? This is one clear idea which could actually regulate. I don't know how that would change things, but somehow I think most people would agree that if you have 100 megs of assets, you shouldn't be able to bid 1,000. I think most people would somehow agree with the principle, but in a way it seems currently there is none. But I think many people will be asking this question, that should there then be?
Absolutely. Yeah. Very, very good question to ask. I think they're good. Maarit, Riku and Gert, thank you very much for being guests on the Montel Weekly Podcast this week.
Thank you.
Thank you.